Welcome to the GCSE Maths Advantage. I'm Dr. James Carter, and every episode I'm going to break down one topic, show you where the marks are, and give you a quick win you can use in your next exam. Whether you're targeting a grade 7 or pushing for a 9, let's get into it.
Hook. This one question lost more marks than any other on last year's AQA paper. Students were given the final price after a 20% decrease and asked for the original price. More than 1 in 4 wrote add 20% and lost marks. Sound familiar? If you've ever panicked and done the opposite operation, stay with me. This episode fixes that in a reliable, exam-safe routine.
The concept. Step 1. What does a percentage change mean in algebra? If a price increases by 20%, we multiply the original by 1.20. If it decreases by 20%, we multiply by 0.80. So the forward step is always original times 1 plus or minus the percentage as a decimal.
Now reversing that change is the key exam skill. If you see the final value and are told a 20% increase produced it, you don't add 20%, you divide by 1.20. If a 20% decrease produced it, you divide by 0.80. Write it as an equation. Final equals factor times original. So original equals final divided by factor. Simple, repeatable.
Example with small numbers, so the idea sticks. Suppose a bike costs £60 after a 20% discount. Asking what was the original price means the final £60 equals 0.80 times the original. So original equals 60 divided by 0.8 equals £75. Notice how dividing by 0.8 gets us back to the start. That's the reverse operation every time.
Why does this work? Think of the percentage factor as a shrinking or stretching multiplier. A 20% decrease shrinks the original by a factor of 0.80. To undo it, we stretch by the reciprocal, which is dividing by 0.80. It isn't magic, it's arithmetic. Let that sink in.
Next, simple change versus successive or compound change. Simple change is one step, one increase or one decrease. Successive changes happen one after another. For example, a 10% increase followed by a 20% decrease. You do not simply add or subtract percentages. Instead, you multiply by each factor in turn. Original multiplied by 1.10 multiplied by 0.80. That's compound behavior.
Example of successive change. Start at £100, increase 10% to 110, then decrease 20% to 88. Notice the net effect is not minus 10% overall. The correct calculation is 100 multiplied by 1.10 multiplied by 0.80 equals 88. That mismatch is where many exam mistakes happen. Students try to add or subtract percentages or confuse percentage points with percent changes.
Before we move on, a quick note on percentage points. If something moves from 30% to 40%, that's a 10 percentage point increase, but it's a 33.3% relative increase. Exams usually mean relative percentage change, unless they say percentage points. Read the question twice. Solve it once. The exam technique. Here's where the marks are. For a typical 3-mark percentage question, you'll see M1 for setting up a correct equation, M1 for the correct method to isolate the original value, and A1 for the final answer with correct units or rounding. Write the equation. Final equals factor times original. Then show the division step. Even if you can't finish the arithmetic, that first setup often earns an M1. Concretely, if the exam gives after a 25% increase the price is £125, write let original equals x, 1.25x equals 125. Then x equals 125 divided by 1.25 equals £100. Those 3 lines are exactly what examiners want. Write it down, don't just think it.
Common pitfalls that cost marks: using the wrong base, mixing up original and final, forgetting to convert percent to decimal, and failing to show the equation. Also beware of rounding too early. Keep the exact value on your calculator and only round the final answer to the required accuracy.
The quick win, a 10-second check that catches most errors. After you calculate the original, substitute it back into your equation. If you found x equals 450, for example, and the question said a 10% reduction produced 405, compute 0.90 times 450 and check it equals 405. If it doesn't, you know where to fix it. Don't skip the check.
A mnemonic for successive changes: multiply successive, don't add. When changes happen one after another, convert each percent to a multiplier and multiply them in order. Write the factors down on your answer paper so the examiner can see your method. Marks are there for the taking.
Calculate a habit that wins marks. Always write the factor on the paper. For example, multiply by 1.05, multiply by 1.05, multiply by 1.05 for 3 years at 5%. Then press equals. That small step shows method and reduces careless keypad errors.
That's your quick win for today. If this helped, share it with a friend who's revising. You'll find more worked solutions and a printable cheat sheet with 3 exam questions at jcacademyonline.co.uk. Visit the show notes for direct links. Stay curious.
Practice walkthrough. Reverse percentage example. The price after a 20% decrease is £540. What was the original price? Step 1. Write the equation. Let original equals x. 0.80x equals 540, M1. Step 2. Isolate x by dividing both sides. X equals 540 divided by 0.80, M1. Step 3. Calculate. X equals 675.00, so original price equals £675.00, A1. Now substitute to check. 0.80 multiplied by 675 equals 540. Correct. Write those 3 lines and you collect full marks.
Compound growth example. An amount grows by 5% each year for 3 years. If the initial amount is £1,200, what is the value after 3 years? Step 1. Write factors. 1.05 times 1.05 times 1.05, or 1.05 to the power 3. Step 2. Calculate. 1,200 times 1.05 to the power 3 equals 1,200 times 1.157625 equals 1,389.15. Show the method. Value equals 1,200 times 1.05 to the power 3 equals £1,389.15. That's M1 for method and A1 for correct answer, rounded to pence. Keep the intermediate factor visible on your paper.
Final sign-off and resources. Quick recap. To reverse percentages, divide by the appropriate factor. For successive changes, multiply factors in order and always substitute back to check in 10 seconds. For a printable cheat sheet, worked solutions and practice questions, visit jcacademyonline.co.uk and download the Reverse Percentages pack. One practice question now will save time in the exam later. Trust the process. Stay curious. Until next time, trust the process and nail that exam.